So I got all fired up this week because I ran into a situation with a really crappy management agreement and the manager who was just trying to exploit the artist, and there's some specific situations that came up. So later on in this video, I'm going to specifically talk about the expenses portion in your management agreement and how this can really backfire onto you. So this is like the most important thing that you will hear in this video. So please make sure you watch and till the end. Watch the whole thing. So, before we start, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I release videos every week helping you with your music career, your record label, all the things that you're doing. I got you covered. The first thing is when it comes to management agreements, you need to understand the roles and responsibilities, okay? And this is usually very broad. And the reason I want to point this out is because in the management agreement, it's very clearly setting forth your obligations if you are the artist, as you need to, reasonably work to promote your career. You have to pay the manager's fee, which we'll talk about what's industry standard, what's fair, okay? But you have to do it and you have to account to the manager and all the things. And then you get to the section about what the manager is supposed to do. And often that's a really long list and it'll take up like half a page. But what it says is manager will try to do manager's best when it comes to like mentoring you and giving you tips and thoughts and guidance and things like that. But it doesn't say that the manager has to actually do anything. And this is really important because number one, it would be tough to be like, manager guarantees you're going to get 100,000 plays on Spotify. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff that the manager can't guarantee. But on the flip side, by keeping it so general, it gets really tough if you have a situation where you hate your manager, or you don't like your manager, or you want to leave your manager because you can't. Because you signed a contract and you're like, I think the manager kind of does a crappy job and he or she's not working very hard for me. Well, in the contract, it doesn't say that that manager has to do really anything other than maybe get on a phone call with you every once in a while. So keep that all in mind when you're thinking about the management agreement and before you actually sign. All right. So then the other really important thing we're looking at in your contract is the length of the contract. How long are you agreeing to jump on in and sail on into the sunset with this person? Because you're stuck on that ship and it's just you two. So, for example, what I try to do when I am representing clients is that we want to try to negotiate for the shortest amount of time possible. Because as the artist, especially if it's a new relationship, the less amount of time you have to be in the relationship, the better. Now, if you are on the manager's side, you want to make it as long as possible. You're going to say, hey, let's do the deal. I'm going to represent you for the next 5 years. But if you're the artist, you want to say, no, it needs to be one. We'll work together for 1 year. If it's going well, we'll renew. Cool. But then the other side of this is termination. So what you always have to look for, I'm saying this quietly, so you'll listen really hard. It's not just how long the contract is for, it's how do we get out of the contract? How do we get off the ship if things are going really badly? And so you want to make sure there is some termination language. So, for example, if manager has not responded to me as the artist in 30 days, I have the right to terminate. So, like the most basic stuff of like, I expect you to be my actual day to day manager. Or if you have maybe certain goals and managers like, I can guarantee I'm going to get you at least $500 in live gigs and interviews and sponsorships. Okay, put that in the contract. And then if that manager does not meet their obligations, then you can terminate. So just having something giving you a basis, because again, the crappy part of what happens when a lot of you guys contact my office because you want to get out of a contract, trust me, I'm a creative lawyer and I have found one of every ways to get you out of your contracts, but it gets really tricky when you signed the contract and, it basically just said that the manager had to like pick up phone calls from you. Because even if you don't like the manager's not really doing a very good job and you're just paying this person to do essentially nothing, that doesn't mean you have a contractual basis to terminate. So you're stuck in the contract that you signed for 5 years. So then let's go to the commission. How much are you paying this person? So industry standard for a manager is that the manager will get 15 to 20%, it's negotiable, of all of your income in your entertainment career. So if you are a musician, we include all the entertainment career stuff because, if the manager's doing a great job and helping to make you a big star, and then that leads to you getting a TV series and doing some acting gigs and you're getting sponsorships, all that stuff is reasonably related to the efforts of the manager. So the manager gets a cut, right? So it all kind of makes sense. But what you should consider is how skilled is that manager, right? And negotiate down to the lowest percentage. Give the manager 15%, especially if it's like earlier in your career and you don't have a lot of income related to music, entertainment. You might be more inclined to be like, no, I'll just give the manager 20%. But why would you do that? Because I'll tell you, when money actually starts coming in, and then you're like, well, actually, I got that show. Well, actually, I put out those songs that made that money. The manager didn't. It starts to sting a little bit more. Again, going to the whole like, how long are you stuck in the agreement for? So try to negotiate down to 15%. If it's a super great manager and they're going to work their tail off for you and all the things, cool. Give them 20%. But don't just give away, again, we're on the ship. This is the analogy I just love. You're on the ship and there's only so much food. Don't just be giving, a portion of the food because all of a sudden now you have an agent who just got on the ship because you had to stop. Okay, now the agent's on the ship and they're taking from the food too. So at some point, you're literally going to have nothing left. So then, the other big piece here, and this is like, it's funny for me to even say this. I shouldn't have to say this. It's so obvious, but having goals and expectations that match. So don't have a manager that's like, oh, I don't really like the type of music that you're doing. I don't think the kind of music that you're doing is good, or I don't think the quality of your music is very good. Like, whoa. It's one thing to have someone who can maybe give you a little critical feedback. This is what we can do to improve your image or your, the quality of this and that. That's cool. But I've had actual cases where the manager is just like toxic. And that's not good because, again, it's the whole we're stuck in the relationship, we're paying the person this stuff. So I'm always an advocate for like, test the relationship, court that person for a while before you sign. And then one of the most insanely important parts of this, and I want to emphasize this, I said in the beginning, when it comes to expenses, I've had this situation come up for a couple of different clients where in your contract, it has to talk about the expenses. What happens if the manager pays for something related to your career? What if it's promotion? What if it's a music video? What if it's for travel? The manager had to go have a cool meeting with someone, and then they had some meals, and then they went to the club afterward. All those expenses that were related to your career, who pays for that? Well, I can bet you that the manager is going to come back and say, you, the artist, have to pay me. So all of a sudden, you're getting a bill from a manager who hasn't done really anything for you for like $10,000. Real situation. Or you're having a manager who's like, I've worked with you for like 4 years and maybe like all well intended, all cool stuff. And they're like, I spent, thousands and thousands of dollars on you. And now you owe me all this money. And you're like, I never agreed to that. So the way that you deal with this is in the contract, you have a section for expenses and you go, manager shall not incur any expense that's more than like $100. If you want to be bougie about it, put like $250 or put $1,000. Pick a number. Manager shall not incur any expenses more than this amount of money without getting written permission, and written permission is very important. It has to be documented. Don't say it can be verbal. It has to be in a text or an email or a letter. I don't care, but it has to be written. And if manager doesn't do that, and that person did not get your permission to go and pay this money, you don't have to reimburse it. So for just kind of protecting yourself, because man, there's some shady people out there, and even if they're not, maybe someone is well intended, but they start going and like blowing all this money, trying to help you, and now again they're just like presenting this bill to you, and you're like, what the f? I didn't agree to this. So please make sure that you have that in your contract. And then on the cherry on top of all that is you need to get an entertainment attorney. You need someone who knows these deals, what to look out for. Even if you have a template, just make sure you get it reviewed by someone who has the skills in this specific area. They will catch all this crap, they will protect you, and they will make sure that even if you are stuck in a relationship for a year or 2 years, that you have the best opportunity to like get out of it if you need to, or that you're not going to get screwed because of things like expenses. I'm releasing videos every single week to help you with your music career and getting you to six figures and beyond. So make sure you subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.